and welcome back to a boat called Wanda. Well, I've got some news, and that's that my stainless steel high temperature ducting has arrived. I've got a piece that's about 3 meters long and I'm pretty keen to try that out. But before I get into that, I want to go straight back to where I left off last update and have a look at closing up those speaker holes. So let's get back up on deck and check that out. Okay, so this has been setting all weekend, so it should have had enough time. And let's see how well it's stuck. It is stuck, as I feared it may have been. That's all right, it's come off nicely. Oh, that's good, I'm pleased with that. This has worked out really well. Obviously, I put the epoxy from the inside and it squeezed out to the front. So you can see here that there's plenty of epoxy, which means that there's been a really good amount pushed all the way through to keep this sat in here nicely. And I've got a perfect 2mm inset here. So by the time I feather back the edge around here, I'll get a pretty flush level, I think, once I put a couple of pieces of laminate in to hold that in. And then obviously I'll put some laminate in from the other side as well. And then that's it. Job done. That's quite disappointing because I had to remove the dust guard in the end. It was just getting in the way, and I couldn't really see what was happening with this part of the grinder, and it was digging in quite a lot, so one of them has not come out so well. So I think with the dust guard it's fine if you're just using the chip and if you've got a big space, but as soon as you do something like this speaker, and I had the seat here so I didn't have too much room, it just kind of is a bit cumbersome and it sort of obstructs your vision, and you find that you're just really using the chip and you can't see what's happening with the rest of the grinder. So this was the first one I did, and I don't know if you can see, but it's just not quite as neat. I really sort of dug in here and I've taken a lot more material away than I needed to, but you know, this is a really good solid join here with all this thickened epoxy around here, so it'll be fine. It's just not going to be quite as neat with the laminate as I thought it was going to be, and I'm going to have to use more fairing compound to compensate for that. The second one I did without the dust guard, and although I made a really big mess, which is a massive shame, ultimately it's come out a lot better. I've not sort of dug in anywhere, I've not taken away too much material, I've got a nice gentle slope all the way around, and it's just really because you can use the whole face of the grinder and you can see every angle, whereas when you've got the dust guard on, all you really can see clearly is the top part here. The rest, even though this is clear perspex and you can see through, and also this brush kind of stops the sensitivity you can feel of where the grinder is touching and how much pressure you're applying. So, you know, I think this is a great tool, but it's not going to work in every circumstance. I think for this sort of more detailed work you need to lose it. Anyway, it's done now, so I need to do a big hoover up and then cut out my discs and apply them. as you can see, I've settled upon a solution for my heating. So I've got this 3 meter long stainless steel spiral duct. It's made out of stainless steel because it's rated to about 1200 degrees Celsius. And some of the galvanized iron or galvanized pipe that I looked at, because of that zinc content, it basically means that it starts to break down around 400 degrees or 350, 400 degrees. So basically I went with the stainless steel just to be safe. I took some of the old lagging and outer insulation from that ducting that I bought that broken down. The pipe is incredibly hot, so I should probably put a bit more insulation all the way along. So yeah, this is it. It's doing the job. It's been running for a couple of hours, and let's have a look at the temperature now. Right, well this is the temperature in the shed, and I've got this temperature sensor up on the deck, so it's at deck level. And as you can see, I've been running it for about 2 hours now. This is when I started, and the temperature was 4 degrees, and now the temperature's gone up to 11.2. Now just to clarify, the temperature outside the shed is now 6 degrees because the day's gone on and the morning's heated up the shed. So the difference between 6 degrees outside and 11.5 inside means that the heater is changing the temperature of this whole shed area or volume by 5.5 degrees over 2 hours. So let's just go back to what I'm trying to achieve here. What I'm trying to achieve is to get the temperature up to 10 degrees so I can put the primer on, and I've done that, as we can see now. If I didn't have this heater, it would be about 6 degrees, so that's great. The second thing I want to do with this heater, or the second requirement I have, is to take the temperature up to 16 degrees when I come to do the spray paint. Now, when I come to spray it, I'm going to have the tent built around Wanda, and I'll have that pipe feeding into the tent. So with a much smaller volume of air, I can see no problems getting the temperature up to 16 degrees. Now, finally, the other thing that I had to do a little bit of research in, and if you're thinking of getting a similar solution as this yourself, one thing to be mindful of is there's 2 grades of kerosene out there. In the UK, it's referred to class 1 and class 2. I think in the States, it's referred to class K1 and K2. And basically it comes down to the sulfur content, and the sulfur content is given as a percentage by weight. So I've actually ended up getting a premium paraffin, which is still slightly different to what a kerosene product is, very slight difference. And so the sulfur content in the premium grades paraffin is, I think, maximum of 0.04, but typically it's 0.001. Whereas if you just get the standard kerosene, K1 in the States or C1 in the UK, you can have a sulfur content of 0.4, so that's basically at least 10 times more sulfur content. And when you burn that sulfur in an enclosed space like this, it's creating a pollutant which is very bad for you. So you need to get the clean running K1 or class 1 kerosene or paraffin, depending on what supply you can find. Okay, so we've got a nice toasty shed in here. Since I've been speaking, the temperature's gone up to 12.1 now, so I'll shut this off. It is a little bit noisy, as you can hear in the background, and get back to some lovely sanding. Well, I'm still plugging away at this area that will go underneath the MassDEP. It's quite a complex piece, and I think this is going to take a lot of work and a lot of skimming in particular once the top skin has been laid back down. The problem I've got is I need a fairly straight or square top here where the mast base itself sits, and then either side of that you need a bit of a slope, and the slope on this side and the slope on this side are quite different. So it's a fairly complex shape, and it's going to take me a long time to get right. Poor old Wanda, she's a bit of a mess down here. Interior is quite unloved, but you know, I'll get around to that. Okay, now these are earplugs. A special device to put through a hole to stop the epoxy from being squeezed through earplugs. It did the job though. That's incredible how epoxy will even stick onto an earplug. Okay, so these are the holes here that I need to re-drill. Okay, so that's marked out where these two holes are, and now I can switch to a hole saw. I'll just switch over to a flat bit so that I can cut out all that material. Obviously the wood is in good enough condition not to just come flying out, so there's still a bond there, which is good. Just prefer to use the hole saw to get the depth right, and then I'll use the flat bit to get the material out. Great, well these holes are really clean. The good news is the marine ply, at least right down the bottom, is in great condition. It's really solid, it's not damp, and it was stuck well and truly well to the bottom skin, so there's no worries about this core here, it's fine. Okay, so I'll put some tape on the other side to stop the resin from dripping out, and I'll fill these up. Okay, well it's time to do some laminating and finish up on this through hole on the side of the top sides here. So I'm going to use epoxy for this. Okay, first step is to wet this out with a paintbrush this time. Make sure I get this small piece of foam core in the centre nice and saturated. That'll strengthen up with a bit of resin through it. And I'm using triaxial 600 for this. So the first thing I'll do is try and really wet out the behind side of it, so that when I put it up vertically, it's already started to saturate and break down. As you can see, it's starting to go translucent because it's penetrating all the layers, so I think that's good to go. Yeah, that looks good. Probably won't want to do too much with it. Just try and get some resin through this side of it. Same thing, I'll just try and wet out the back side of it first. The more I can wet it out whilst it's on this piece of cardboard, the less difficult time I'll have trying to wet it out when it's vertical on the side here. Should be about right. Let's get a bit of resin on the front side of it. Nice. Probably go a little bit easier on the resin now. There we go, number 4. We'll see how this fits. Yeah, that is a good fit. Okay, well that's just about all I've got time for this week. Unfortunately, I've only got a few more updates left before I'm going to have to put the project aside for quite some time, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that next time. So next steps are to look at getting this Mast base nicely embedded in that repair that I just did, and get this all sort of fared out nice and smooth. Because this is actually concave, it's going to take a little bit of thought on how I can bed this in. The other good news is I've got a guy, Rob, who's helping me do the preparation for the priming on the boat. So hopefully with 2 of us going, we'll get to that point pretty quickly. So he'll help me with all the preparation, he'll work with me putting the primer down, and then I've got somebody else to come in to do the spray once that's ready. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.